This is the screen that you see when you move through from the home page, and as you can see at the top level there are two different kinds of function. There's the search function, which relies on you knowing the words or phrases that you might be interested in, and there's the explore function, which is a little bit more open-ended and can rely on concepts as well. I'll explain those in another video. In this video I'm going to take the very basic version of the search function, and as you can see to the right there's your search box. If you are interested in, for example, searching the term nuclear, the 19th century is not a place to look for nuclear weapons, so let's say the 20th century onwards up to the end of the data that we have at the moment, which is 2005, and put your term in the search box and click on search, and what comes up is a graph, as you can see at the bottom, which shows you the rise of the term nuclear, which seems to have had a peak in about 1987. In order to make the graph more useful, you might want to cut out all the years when the term wasn't being used, and so you can simply scroll up and change the first date. So let's change it to 1945. What you can do then, if you wish to, is add similar words that you are aware of, for example atomic, and what you'll see is that you get a second graph overlaid over the first graph. The beginning of this graph looks as though this isn't the beginning of the term atomic, so you can move the first date backwards until you get the beginning of the use of the word, and it looks as though 1944 is when that word also started being used. So you have two graphs. You can explore them in different ways, which I'll explain in another video, but you can actually add up to 4 terms on these graphs. So if you add hydrogen bomb and put what we call the wildcard, the asterisk, which will also pull up plurals, hydrogen bombs, and search on that, you get a third graph, much lower one in this case, the blue one at the bottom, and you can see that the search terms are also listed to the top right hand corner of the distribution graph. If you want to just hide one of those graphs for a short while, you can just turn it off by clicking on the little coloured dot, and then you can bring it back. So the search doesn't go away, it is just hidden. If you want to change the search terms, you need to use this list on the right hand side of the search box. You can delete one of the terms, for example hydrogen bomb, and add instead maybe trident. And you could also add cruise missile, again with the wildcard, so that you pull up the plural. So you have 4 searches here, and you can see that some of them are lower than others. You might want to concentrate on some of these, for example just lose cruise missile and trident, and in the next video I'll be exploring the actual data, so you can click through on these graphs and explore the actual contributions where these things were being discussed, but that will be in the next video. Before we do that, a word or two about the frequencies here on the left hand side. These frequencies are per million words, which means that the numbers you see in the little boxes are the number of occurrences per million words for each of these terms. Now, a word of warning about those: it's a way of normalising the data so that you get comparable data, so the graphs do make some kind of sense. But if you look across the whole period from 1803, you should be a little bit wary of the earlier part of that period, because the amount of data, the numbers of millions of words in the early part of historic Hansard is so much lower than it is now that the normalisation could be seen as void. So a little bit of care over those figures, but we hope that normalised data will help you explore Hansard in meaningful ways. The other thing I wanted to say here is that you can also download the images of these graphs. If you want to download them, you just click on image and you'll see a small download sign at the bottom of your screen. It's not showing on this recording. So that will be a line chart, a PNG file. If you want the actual data, the numbers, you can click on the Excel button, and this will download an Excel file with the numbers of occurrences of these items in your data in the chosen period. So you can decide to change the period as I showed you earlier. One final word about this search page is that the dates, as you can see, are full year dates. This is one of the things that we had to do to make the searches quick enough to be useful. There is another way, if you're interested in particular date ranges, there is another way in the advanced searches to do that. So I think that's probably everything for this video. In the next one we'll be clicking through to have a look at the data itself.